The topic is examining race and well-being in the workplace. And it kind of started with a couple of our psychologists 5 years ago now, kind of saying they found a gap in the literature and the research looking at the impact of discrimination and well-being and performance. And essentially what they found was that there was a literature on discrimination and the impact discrimination has on an individual's well-being, kind of expect that. And there also was a literature, which you may be familiar with, on well-being and performance. But there wasn't actually much in the literature, if anything, looking at the impact of discrimination and performance. And so what we decided to do is we would actually kind of start to join the dots up. In fact, what I'm going to be talking about this evening isn't so much discrimination, well-being and performance, as minority effect, well-being and performance. I'll take all three in turn, starting with the minority effect before I look at the impacts of the minority effect on well-being and performance. So just imagine a time not so long ago when you were turning up in the offices, you get into the lift in the morning, it's crowded. You see an acquaintance, a friend at the back of the lift who raises their eyes, gives a shrug of their shoulders and a gentle smile, all of which signify to you, it's another day. You get out of the lift and you get into the office, you walk past the manager's office who is already on a video conference call, and without moving their head away from the screen, they give you a wave of welcome. And then as your computer boots up, you go over to get your first fix of caffeine for a day, and you bump into other colleagues, and then you have a conversation about the previous day's events. Everyday, commonplace, routine interactions, and yet they are highly significant. These interactions show us that we belong. It is these small gestures. We should never underestimate the impact of these small gestures, because they show us that we belong to this group, to this organization, to this particular tribe, as I would call it. There's an evolutionary psychologist called Mark van Vugt who said that if we looked at human evolution, if we represented it as an hour on a clock, the way we live and work now in large buildings and places of work away from where we live, that actually represents only 7 seconds of human evolution. So we want to have signs that we belong. And so these small gestures actually matter. And it shows us that we are emotionally connected to others. So these are significant. Whilst they're small, routine, every day, they actually are highly significant. Just imagine, however, somebody who doesn't receive those signals, those boosts, or worse still, they are behind the person that does. So they see the person getting these small gestures and signals to show that they are welcomed and belong to this group, and they know that they're not getting them. Now, this has an impact as well, because these small gestures count just as much. And they can be acts of commission, so things that we are doing to individuals, like getting their name wrong, or not giving them eye contact, or criticizing them and never giving them any praise. It could be things like that, but there could be actually signs of omission, these signs that I'm talking about here. And we are very sensitive to the signs of inclusion. And in fact, we do know now from neuropsychological research that this has an impact in our brains. There's a part of the brain, the dorsal anterior cingulate cortex, where we start picking up signals that we don't belong, that part of the brain is implicated. It starts to fire up, and it has consequences for us, because actually that part of the brain, interestingly, is also the same part of the brain that feels physical pain. So the emotions that we're feeling are analogous neurologically, I would suggest, to physical pain that we feel. And it leads to us as individuals to start to withdraw. Once we get signs that we don't belong, we start to withdraw. We engage in less or discretionary organizational citizenship behaviors, So encouraging behaviours, supportive, helpful behaviours, we are less likely to display those, and we put in less discretionary effort. We won't go the extra mile. So we know the impact of exclusion, and also we know what the impact of inclusion has.